A group of misguided animal rights activists free a caged chimp infected with the rage virus from a medical research lab. When London bike courier Jim, Killian Murphy, wakes up from a coma a month after, he finds his city all but deserted. On the run from the zombie-like victims of the rage, Jim stumbles upon a group of survivors, including Selena, Naomi Harris, and cab driver Frank, Brendan Gleeson, and joins them on a perilous journey to what he hopes will be safety. This is Movie Time Machine.
Hello, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Movie Time Machine, where we take movies from the past and relive them in the present. This week's movie is 28 Days Later, directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland, starring Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, and Brendan Gleeson. I'm your Time Machine host, Chad, and joining me today is my Time Machine cohort, Jamie. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Chad? How are you?
Surviving the apocalypse right now. That's what I'm doing.
That's all we can ask for.
Right. So currently, this is kind of like a time capsule now. So as of today, in the state of Minnesota, March 25th, in the year 2020, I just announced today that we're going to be on further, stay at home, they're calling it. Essentially, the shelter in place, which a lot of other states are doing in the nation. So we'll be starting that for 2 more weeks on Friday. Then kind of things are still going to be kind of on lockdown for another month, essentially. So that's where we stand now in our little time capsule. But why don't we talk about what we've been watching, Jamie?
Yeah, for sure. So, with all of this extra time on my hands, not really. I'm home with 2 very young girls and working from home. So, really not as much free time as you would think, but there is enough time here and there to squeeze in a movie or two. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm kind of rewatching all the Marvel films in theatrical order. That would be on Disney Plus for those of you who,
Yeah,
for some reason, don't have it.
how far have you gotten in that so far?
So I'm at the Dark World right now, halfway through.
Yeah,
Not my
it's Thor.
Thor,
Okay.
yeah, not my favorite, but that's not the movie I wanted to talk about right now. Um,
Okay.
I actually wanted to highlight. You're like, thank God. Uh, no, I was just struck rewatching Iron Man 3 how much fun that movie is. And
Okay, I haven't got to that one yet. Tell me about
oh,
it.
okay, I won't give too many spoilers, but I think it just gets lost in the mental shuffle for me because the first Iron Man is so good. Then Avengers comes right before Iron Man 3, and then we're into Civil War and the rest, Black Panther, and then Thanos shows up. So it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But what it does really well is um, where 2 was kind of the sequel that fell flat, 3 really just did a different thing with Tony. He spends much of the movie outside of his suit and, doing the not so subtle, is he Iron Man? Is he Tony Stark? Who is he really? But that's not what I
Yeah.
admire about it. I think what's really cool is just how hard it is for the third film in a series with a character that iconic to keep it interesting and fresh. And I think it really does that. I mean, his partnership with Rhodes is that much more interesting, and their bond is cooler and tighter in this one. And the villain's really good, which cannot be said for a lot of the Marvel films. So,
Yeah, that's where I've kind of struggled. Like a while back, I started my MCU journey, and I think I stopped at. Yeah, I think I watched Iron Man 2, then I tried to watch Thor, and that's kind of threw me off course, and I haven't, haven't really dove back into it. But just from like what I've kind of like dove into, like here and there, like just caught bits and pieces of, and like the MCU, like the Iron Man movies have been more, I guess, appealing to me versus the others. But I can't really put Um, you know, that's my thumb on like the pulse of the reason why. But yeah, it's probably just as you stated. I feel like the character development of Tony Stark, and that is the most interesting part, and that's probably why two fails a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
awesome.
agree. What are you watching,
Yeah,
Chad?
so what have I been watching? I So outside of watching 28 Days Later, I'm still going down the Robotech trek, so diving into that once in a while. Keep it still keeping my interest. Been doing a little bit of Twilight Zone here. I just rewatched The Monsters Are Due on the Maple Drive. I was getting confused. Maple Street?
Maple
Maple
Street.
Drive? Maple Street? Yeah. So good. So good. If you haven't seen that before, definitely recommend everyone going out and watching that. It's currently on Netflix right now. So is Robotech. But kind of like a gem for me, an old gem for me that I found while I was digging through some movies on Hulu is an anime from the mid to early 90s called Ninja Scroll, and that is an awesome movie. It's so good. I think it's kind of why I like the movie Kill Bill so much. It's like if you took Kill Bill and um like Ninja Gaiden from like Nintendo or something. It almost
No
has like
kidding.
this. Yeah, it's so
Hyper
good.
violent.
Not, I guess like some of the fight scenes is because like you have it's like boss fights. Like you have like there's like the eight devils of Kimon, and um, kind of like your protagonist is going through to kill all these devils for some reason. Yet you learn in the end what's driving that. But yeah, it's so good. I mean, it's not only just like the hyper violent stuff, but I think just like the art direction in it is done well. It's just like a super cool story, and it's like just under 90 minutes, I think. So it's a nice quick movie to hop into. So it's a lot of
And
fun. It's
where
probably the
can?
anime I've watched the most, but yeah, currently that's on Hulu.
Oh man, I canceled Hulu too soon. I'm looking at the stills here on IMDb, and this looks sweet.
Yeah, it's man, it's probably got to be one of my favorite. It's in my top 5 anime
Wow.
for anime movies. It's really good, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably maybe below Robotech just because I've seen it so much. But yeah, Ninja Scroll, I've seen that movie a lot, a lot,
A lot.
but a lot. Anyway, why don't we dive into the topic of the show, which is
Yeah.
28 Days Later? Um,
Can I throw a curveball at you right out of the gate?
yeah,
We didn't prepare for this, but I really do want to ask,
yeah,
and
sure.
I have my answer too, but curious what you say. Is it in bad taste to do a zombie film during this heightened sensitive time of a pandemic?
Yeah, I thought about that. It's either like insensitive or like perfect timing.
Yep.
I think there's maybe some things we can learn from this movie, uh,
Yeah. I
especially the way I think how maybe how certain forces are reacting to it. But it's almost you can watch this movie and you can kind of see things happening in real time, kind of how they could lead up to that moment when we get Jim waking up in the hospital.
yeah, I like that answer and I don't disagree. I think there's a lot of scary, hard feelings to work through right now, and that's kind of when I actually turn to horror movies. It's my preferred genre, but I think they do offer a lot of help in that way. Um, at the very least, the world could always be worse. So watching a movie like this, it's like, okay, at least
Right,
we're not there.
right, right, right. Yeah, for the most part, a lot of people are getting sick. but in for the most part, people that are passing from this are, like our vulnerable population. So it's not like everyone that's catching this is dying like in contagion.
Right.
Like it's not at that level, which would be a lot scarier, I think, than our current situation. But I like our current situation now. Like I think everyone's fear and the reactions are like the scariest part of it. Is more scary than like the virus itself right now. I guess for me anyway. But
I go back and
at the
forth
same
because
time,
I've seen some videos
wait, yeah,
that, yeah, it scares the hell out of me of the virus itself. But I think statistically speaking, what you're saying is correct. It's, yeah, it's just hard to soften the blow for that 2% who
yeah,
are experiencing the worst. But I mostly agree.
yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully, we see.
Right. Right.
On that same topic, though, it's kind of for me. It personally, it's kind of brought to light just kind of how obsessed we are with consumerism and how much that drives most of our social life here in the States. I feel like for like a large population of the nation. So it's like if you once you start cutting out, you know, like these things like going out to restaurants and going to the store outside of like going to the grocery store right now, which is kind of terrifying when you see all the empty shelves, but maybe in like a cynical way. It's just this idea of like how consumerism is kind of drives like our reason for living in a way,
Yes.
but
And I think too, I've even questioned this out loud to other people I've discussed with is, was our country just designed to bear the brunt of this in the worst way? Like, are we fundamentally incapable of locking this down? I
right.
will, we will always wonder what would have happened if right away our government and our society was on the ball.
Yeah.
I've heard reports that, yeah, that's what it takes. It takes 2 weeks. Everyone get their shit together. You starve the virus, and then we all move
Yep.
on. Nobody loses their
Right.
jobs. Way fewer people lose their
Right.
lives.
Right. Instead of everyone taking like an ad hoc approach to it, seems
Yes.
like, you know, this is great for a lot of those Republicans that are into separation of, the Federalists, right? They want more power to the states, so the governors of states are kind of doing their own thing, and the federal government is staying out of it, and it's probably
Oh,
not the
totally.
best for the nation.
Oh, totally. You can look at
So,
the states and relative to who their governor is and how they've reacted. And it's,
yeah,
with the exceptions of New York and California, because big cities, that's a different conversation. But
yeah, just like the big cities, they get lots of international traffic, amount of people, easy to spread, like in large numbers. So, yeah, I
yeah,
get it there, but yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of like it's a good, I feel like 1-to-1, I guess, for real life and this movie. Um,
right.
while watching this, there was a lot of like for me, like in my own head, just thinking through like, oh my god, like what if this did happen, or our supply chain gets shut down and you're
Right.
not able
What
to
do
get
you
any
do?
food, and yeah. But I don't know. Like maybe in a way too, it's good to be faced with you know a challenge like that, not to happen, but challenging yourself to like you know how if you were to lose access to these things, what would you do? Like do you have enough food to like ration yourself for like a month, or
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
it's no secret that we were a complacent, content, fat, and happy nation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, completely unprepared.
yeah. But maybe when we get through this, maybe this will. I don't know. It's definitely going to change us. I've described this a lot to Angela. I've called this like a slow moving 9/11.
Hmm.
Just how it's having almost like the same impact of kind of drilling this fear of like a new enemy, the unknown kind of thing, but
Right.
something that we haven't really experienced here before in modern times, I guess.
Hmm. No, that's really interesting because with 9/11, I'm old enough to remember it. It was. I mean, it didn't require any explanation. You watch the news footage, you see the plane go into the tower, and you understand. Like the fear is instant, and
Yeah,
your patriotism follows soon after. And
right.
yeah, with this, like you said, it's just so slow moving. Like we did people, at least in this country, came to their senses in waves, and I still don't think we're completely there yet.
No, no, I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
Then the darker thought that I have about that is, back to like recalling my experience with 9/11, and I remembering like after I turned on the TV and saw like the pluming smoke coming from the towers, and I'm thinking, oh my god, like what's that skyline going to look at? These towers are just going to be standing there, and they're going to have like these giant like gaping like you know holes in them, and like the amount of time that it's going to take to repair these, like this is just going to be like a scar that we're going to have to look at with no idea of even like imagining like the towers just falling.
Oh wow.
That was like the unexpected thing. So I was like, what what is like the 1-to-1 to that currently now? Like what I'm thinking, like what is the tower that's going to fall that I don't think is going to fall, kind
That
of thing, the
no one was
unexpected.
expecting.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a really scary and interesting way to think of it.
yeah,
That didn't even occur to me.
yeah. Scared the shit out of me when I thought about it that way,
Yeah, no kidding.
but let's go back to the movie.
Whew.
We'll go
Happier
into some.
things like
We'll
zombies.
go. Yeah, so let's talk about this movie. So let's talk about like uh zombies, and let's just make it just out there front and center that we're just going to talk about this movie as if whoever's listening to this has seen this movie. So we're not going to go into like entire plot details, stuff like that. So we'll probably just hop around different subjects that we want to talk about the film instead of getting buried into like uh, plot from beginning to end. So,
Yeah,
but you
I
say
like it.
zombies, right? So, and I know you put this on a couple of your questions here for discussion topics. So, zombie movie versus infected movie, and I think. So, how do you feel about that? I would still consider this like a zombie movie, even though like you're infected aren't technically undead, because they do bring up a few times in a movie like the idea of like thinking that you could starve them out, um,
Right.
especially when you come across like the soldiers that have the one infected that's captured. But yeah, do you
Um,
have any thoughts on that?
I do. Well, and the reason I ask is because there's certain corners of the horror internet where
Yeah,
that them are fighting words.
right.
Zombie film
Yeah,
versus infected.
yeah,
And to me, honestly, sure, it's technically an infected movie, but it's all the same. I mean, it's a
right,
horde of
right,
not people trying to
right,
make you one of them. That's
right.
it.
So, what would be? Can you think of any like infected movies at the top of your head that would be?
World War Z. Well,
Okay, yeah, that's right.
this one's sequel, but that doesn't feel like it counts. Um, what else is an infected? And see, this is where it gets murky because Night of the Living Dead was like a radioactive satellite or something. So
Yeah,
is that infected? Are they a
right,
zombie? Do you have to
right.
die first? So I think
Or
maybe
like
that's
in
the distinction.
yeah, yeah. To me, I'm not a diehard either. I don't really get bent out of shape on either one. You know, they're both kind of like apocalyptic films of some sort of like downfall of society,
Right,
its current structure.
right.
Um, I think the thing I like about these types of movies, though, it kind of shows like how, it's kind of how like our faith in institutions and like our structures of, um, all the infrastructure that we have that holds up all the things that, like get us our food or get us our gas, that supply us to everything we get on a daily basis, like how quickly, that could be cut off. And that's, like, and how do people handle that? Like, what do they do? Like irrational things. Like, who was it? I know in this film they talk about somebody that they said that I thought it was this movie. Like they were heading to the airport, like him and his mother,
Uh,
and they had thought they could buy their way into a plane. And he's like, "Well, it seems like everyone else had the same idea, and how like they got trampled at the airport. And that's how he
yeah,
got split up with his mother and his
that
sister."
that's Mark.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I
one of the
really like that. That was a good story.
yeah, and it's like that quote that Jim has when they're explaining to him what's going on after his hospital coma. He's like, "What do you mean there's no government? There's always a government. They're in a
Yeah,
bunker on a plane." Like he
right,
just doesn't get it.
right, right. So now when he wakes up, I was trying to look this up. Are, is he actually waking up like 28 days later after this happened? Or like he was in the hospital during this time?
Uh, I think
Or is it like after the monkey breakout?
you know what? I never really thought this through because it couldn't have been 28 days later because he'd be dead.
Right, right. That was my thought.
It had. You're right. I think it must have been when the monkey broke out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we kind of get a timeline from Mark and Selena. First it was the small towns, and then the news was covering it like
Oh, yeah,
riot.
yeah, yeah. Yep, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that part.
So, but I'm glad we got to it because yeah, I would have just assumed it was 28 days from when he woke up, but that's not right. So,
Oh. So I did see on Letterbox that you gave this a 5-star rating.
yes,
I think I recall you telling me, is this like one of your favorite movies or one of the scariest movies?
it's both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, I
Right.
love it on many different levels. And you know what? Honestly, this time when I watched it, I was rethinking my 5-star rating. I almost knocked it down to 4.5 or a 4, which is something I never do. I never, I never go down in my ratings. I only go
Yeah.
up if I see a
Right.
film again.
Right.
And I don't know if you want to jump into it now or we can save it, but it was the ending that made me like, I don't know. I
Now
was
which
wavering a
ending?
bit.
Like the first ending?
Yeah, the first ending.
Okay.
Um, and
So where they kind of they escape and they looks like they find a house, they're kind of isolated and they are using, I don't know, looks like they're stitching up, maybe using sheets or something. They spell out help, and eventually, like a jet flies by, and they
yes,
get their attention, and it's kind of like
yeah,
you say, like, oh, yeah.
and it
So you
was
get the
even
idea that they're saved, yeah,
and it even began before that when Jim like becomes the zombie, even though he's not. That's like the metaphor they're playing there. He's monstrous, but he's alive, and
Oh, during the escape part of the film,
yeah.
yeah,
But I think ultimately I'm still okay with it. Um, I just yeah, it felt like a different movie than the first half. Like I felt the writer's room more, if you will, in the second half than the first. The first is like, oh yeah, this is what would totally happen. Like these guys are lucky to be alive. The second is,
Yeah.
I can feel the director keeping them alive, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
kind of felt that. But what was kind of changing I was getting that same feeling too. But at the same time, I was thinking, like, oh, what would that be like if you, like, because they escaped, they got out of the city, right? And
yeah,
they're like by like some old ruins of some building or whatever. And excuse me, then you get the kind of sense of like, you know, like a different kind of freedom that they have. They're not like trapped in this claustrophobic building in like a city. They're kind of out in the open in a way, and they're like relaxing and kind of having fun, like all four of them. And I guess that kind of there's like that kind of lighthearted piece of it, and like
yeah,
how they're kind of bonding together, um, which I maybe makes that ending fit a little bit better with the rest of the film.
yeah.
But but these movies generally, I feel like, don't end like that either. Um, so it's
Well,
kind of where my thought was on that.
and you took the words right out of my mouth. They don't. So it's actually contrarian in that way,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Yep,
think
you're right.
works to its advantage.
But I also do like the alternate ending, which I completely forgot about. After like the end credit scene, um, which where Jim actually dies, then
Yes.
um, then they just kind of go on. They move on. He's dead. He's gone, and they just are moving on. It's
Right.
the same thing, It's just survival for the
Right.
two of them. But
Yeah, and I guess I wouldn't have been mad with that ending either. It's yeah, like you said, it would have fit the theme. It would have made sense in that world in zombie movies. Um, I'm glad we did get a different one though, and I also was glad too because there's a part at the beginning where Selena's explaining the outbreak to Jim, and she
yeah,
says there were reports of infected in Paris and New York, which doesn't make sense. Like, how would an infected would have had to have gotten on a boat or a plane, and how's that happening?
right, right. Yeah, because they kind of gave you the idea that it was isolated to the island,
Yeah,
right? To the UK.
yeah. So I was glad it ended that way. It felt like it was isolated to the island because the plane shows
Yeah,
up.
right. Because I think one of the soldiers too is mentioning that the island is quarantined,
Yeah, that's
and just
right.
saying like everyone outside of the island is living like a normal life, and the rest of them are just left there to die.
Right. And then that makes what Selena says more interesting because it just shows how much misinformation gets thrown around when
Right, right.
things like this happen
Yep.
and just how people aren't thinking clearly.
And how much easier that is. I mean, you see that today now, currently, with the current state of, you know, the world right now. So
Oh, totally.
you're at home seeing like, why are you posting that? That's not true. You don't, it's like, how do you know that? No one knows that.
Right.
People are hearing things, well, I hear somebody said that they heard from somebody else.
Who posted on Facebook? Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's good.
Well, I know a friend I work with, her husband's friend knows another guy that works with another guy that is in the army and knows the governor. uh,
Oh,
oh
seriously.
man. What else do you like about this movie? Hey,
Um,
actually, you got some good questions here that I want to answer to.
oh yeah, go for it.
One here is like, where's the first place you would go after waking up in the hospital? So that was like, I saw this question, and this is what actually started making me think of, like how many days has he actually been in the hospital?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like, well, like what's like the people just like split, or is there food available? So I'm searching through that entire hospital for some sort of like all the food can't be gone.
Right.
And I'm hanging out, I'm holding myself up in that hospital because I'm thinking a lot of stuff that I need is going to be there.
Oh, I'm such an idiot. I didn't even think of that, but you're absolutely right. That's where all the medicine is.
Yeah, what was your plan?
To go find family, but that's so
Oh,
stupid.
yeah, well, I'm so selfish.
Oh.
uh,
But you're right though. Like, so you survive, and I probably die.
yeah, probably. Oh,
Oh man.
I know. I was currently, well, like, was thinking of, especially with what's going on here too, is like, oh, what's a way that you can like possibly hack like the phone lines to where, like, say if like all communication went down, like, is there a way that we can still access the phone lines? And I remember I couldn't find anything on this too. I think um, back in the day when you had like phone booths and like where you just go put a couple quarters in a phone and call from like a gas station or whatever. We used to have this thing. It's called a red box,
Hmm.
and you can get, it was like a phone dialer essentially, and you could store all your phone numbers in there. Then when you need to make a call, instead of having to dial, you just put the dialer up to the phone, and the phone reads the dial tones, and that's how you can make the call. But there's like
Whoa.
a chip that you could put in those. It's some kind of like red crystal something da 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 da, da. And it makes because every time you put a quarter into those payphones, it makes like a low tone beep, like a triple or quadruple beep, and that's the quarter tone. Well, you put this chip into these dialers, and it would alter the tone of the dialer until with the same quarter tone. So you would take the red box, then put it up to the phone, use the quarter tone, and that's how you'd get free phone calls
Whoa.
with a payphone. There's also a thing that's called a beige box, which is essentially taking like a telephone, like a corded telephone, and putting like alligator clips on the ends of the line and plugging those into like like how like the phone lines are set up on like telephone poles or some shit like that.
Weird.
So anyway, long story short, I was like, I need to look up to figure out how to make these beige boxes. So just in case like shit shit falls apart, I can somehow like try to communicate with people.
Right.
Since everyone's cell phones won't work, but
Yeah, never. It's so. Oh, you just reminded me of something. I was gonna say never discount analog technician, or I'm sorry, technology and tools, because I was at the bank
right.
the other day and having to make some crucial deposits, and I was using the tube system, and I cannot tell you the
Mm.
last time I saw someone going through the drive-through using the tubes at the bank. So we got beige box and we got the tube system.
I know the tube system still fascinates me.
Right.
Oh, I used to love that sound.
And that cannot be more sanitary than walking up to the counter. I'm sorry, but there's no
Right,
way.
right. Just slathering your germs all over the what do you call that? The capsule?
Yeah, the capsule.
So, okay. I want to go on to the next question that you posed here. So, all right. So we figured out first place you go after waking up in hospital. We figured out that you would die and I would
Yep.
survive. So, but let's say you survived. Would you seek out other survivors, or would you isolate yourself? So,
So, and this might get
I
me killed.
guess Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's already kind of spoiled because I obviously was isolating myself in the hospital, and you were gonna go seek out family. But
Yeah.
let's just say after you found your family, would you look for other survivors?
Okay, so I two different answers here. If if I find my family, I we're done. Like we're done looking,
Yeah,
unless we
good
happen
call.
across people. Um, but if not, then yes, I would seek out survivors. Because I mean, if I'm gonna live in a post-apocalyptic world by myself, what's the point? It's
True. Yeah, I like that answer.
yeah, it's like that one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, All the Time in the World. Have you seen that one?
Oh, that one's so good. The guy that just wants to find time to read,
Yep,
and like the bombs drop, and he's
yep,
like the only one alive,
yep,
right? And
and
he gets access to the library. Then like he has all these books to read, and he breaks his glasses.
yep. Oh, it's a
Oh,
classic.
yeah, that's a good one.
So, yeah, maybe they might betray me and kill me and eat me, but whatever.
Yeah, I would try to prepare. So like right now, I was thinking like, oh, maybe I need to reach out to like Jamie, Chris, Casey, and James and be like, okay, if shit goes down, we can't contact each other. We know that we probably have some sort of supplies. Like, how could we like meet up or like, where can we
Ooh,
like, you know, build like a bunker or
I like this.
who has the high ground, you know?
Where's the high ground? Well, I can tell you right now, if this really goes south, I'm heading probably, oh shoot, I would go west for family, but that would be too perilous right off the jump, so I'd probably go north first to Duluth. I want a coastline at my back,
Oh yeah,
so
I like that.
that would be my first move.
See, I always think that my option to like get out of the city would be limited because at that point there'd probably be like some sort of martial law.
True,
They wouldn't let. Yeah, I don't know.
it'd be tricky. 62 is always closed anyway.
Right, right. Oh man, be like all those assholes right now that are like packing all their food up and going to their cabins up north and getting everyone up there sick.
Right? Oh God.
Overwhelming, like wiping out like their grocery stores of food, and
Right.
it was like here, like up in Cook County,
Hmm.
and they're like, if any of these people like spread any kind of infection up there, it's just going to overwhelm the hospitals there and like instant.
Oh,
'Cause
totally.
there's nothing up there.
Yeah, and they were, as of a couple days ago, they weren't red. They were clean.
Right, right,
Ugh.
right. Ah, all right. How about this one? I want to see what this one works for you. So, what's the scariest scene in this film for you?
Okay, so I know my answer right away.
Okay, want me to
And
go first?
you go first. Yeah.
I'll go first. For me, was the scene when they're in the tunnel.
Uh-huh.
After they drive over like all like the piled up cars and like they get like the flat tire and they're changing the tire, and you start hearing kind of like that high pitched like sound and like what is that? What is that? And it's just like all those rats running towards them. That was
Yeah.
freaky. And then you figure out, oh, the rats are running from the infected. And that whole scene of them trying to get the tire changed to get in the car and escape from that was like freaky
Yeah.
for me. It was like the scariest scene. How about you?
I that one is a very close second, and on
Okay.
some nights I think that's the most well shot. Like the tension is the best in that scene.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
but the one that affects me most is when they're in Jim's house and he lights that candle and starts walking through his house at night, and the infected just bursts through the window and the skylight because
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's just It's a
That
slip of
is
the
good.
brain. It's a
Yep.
And I think that's where like, oh, the smallest thing could get you killed. Like you
Yeah.
have to be on your game at all times.
Good
And
call. I forgot about that scene.
and I just like, being up with the kids, I'm a big boy. I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
Things don't scare me, but I just from time to time when shit's crazy like this and I'm awake by myself at 3 in the morning making the kid a bottle, I look twice at the window. I'm like, oh shit.
Right. Right.
So,
Oh, I hear you. I know for the longest time our patio doors, um, we put new ones on. They have blinds built into them, but before
uh,
that, we really didn't have a way to like hang up like any kind of like curtain, just because it's wedged in between like our other cabinets. There's not a lot of space there, so we just like someday we're gonna get new patio doors with blinds in them. But until that
mhm.
moment, we got like those blinds. Like I always felt so vulnerable. It's just like giant window. Like there's no way to get like any privacy.
Yeah,
Like there's someone always watching me.
right. You think you would feel safer, but you don't.
Right. Like oh man. Oh, let's see here. So we kind of talked about the ending. Um,
Yes.
so do you think over time, do you think this movie is held up? Let's just jump into that part.
Whew, that's a good question. Um, and I'm super biased. I love the movie. So I will try and be as objective as possible, but I I think so.
Hmm.
It's the scary scenes still scare me, which is usually a good sign. They don't feel dated. Um, I think what's impressive too, and what I will say we'll never see again, is the scene where he clears out London. Like
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, that was awesome.
yeah, I'm sure it's on the special features somewhere, but they had what, like 10 minutes at 5 in the morning or something to film at sunrise before the city woke up and got going.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like done over like multiple days, wasn't it?
I think you're right.
I think yeah.
And I just have a hard time believing that you will have a filmmaker who will take those pains to actually clear out a city where they could
Yeah.
just
It'd
digitally
be
do the same thing.
yeah, CGI, studio,
Yeah,
combination of the two, but
yeah. And I
yeah.
think it makes the movie because London is empty, and that's scary as hell.
Right. Like it is right now.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
uh, yeah, I think this movie holds up. I really like this movie. Um, not saying that it isn't flawed, at times, but
Hmm.
I think it's a pretty unique film. This movie actually kind of kick-started, I feel like, the modern like day zombie infected craze. I'm not saying it's responsible for it, but I feel like this is like if you could put a marker on like the modern zombie movie genre, I feel like you could probably safely say that this was kind of like the beginning of it because I think the following year you get the Day of the Dead, I think comes out. So I think you kind of start getting a string of um, these zombie infected films more frequently after these films that came out in the early 2000s. If you agree or disagree.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I was trying to look up, I like my Google search was first time you see a fast zombie on film. And there might be some indie horror film out there that can actually claim that title, but
Yeah.
as far as, you know, the zeitgeist is concerned, this was it because,
Hmm.
like you said, Dawn of the Dead follows 2 years later. Those are fast zombies too, and yeah, I mean that was something that horror fans, zombie fans hadn't seen yet. Was they're slow. You can get away from them This one's like they're gonna kill you. You better be faster than they are.
Yeah, did you see this in the theater when it came out?
No, I was
No.
just too young.
Uh,
Yeah. What about you?
yeah, I did see this. It was, I think at the time the roommates I had were like big like horror movie fans because I remember I saw this, and actually 2003 was like a good movie year for me because I saw a lot of movies in the theater that year. Like I counted like 16, I think.
Wow.
I went
Which other
to
ones do you remember?
um oh boy, you're putting me on the spot now. I like The Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolution, Kill Bill Volume 1. Um was it Big Fish? I
Yeah.
think you immigrate. Yeah, like, that was that year. Um, Anchorman. I don't know. It's quite a few.
Nice.
Quite a
Nice.
few. Good movie year.
Oh, that's a great movie here. I'm
Yeah.
jealous.
Oh. But yeah, I think this movie holds up. It's pretty unique. I would give it a 4 out of 5 if I were to rate this film. Um, it's probably more skewed to like, if you're into like this genre of films, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. I think it's I like how it's filmed. It kind of has like this, it's like the filters they used on it when they filmed it, but it has like this certain grit to it that really fits the theme of the movie. And I think this is probably the beginning too of a nice run that Cillian Murphy has too, because right after this he does like Batman Returns, and he's in a
Yeah.
lot of Christopher Nolan films,
That's right. He's in
like the Bat
Inception,
movies, Inception.
Dunkirk.
Yeah,
You're right. Nolan does like
yeah,
him.
yeah,
Great call. Oh. Oh,
yeah.
before I forget, have you ever seen the sequel?
Yeah. Thoughts on it? Don't. I didn't really remember it, and I just went back and just was watching some clips from the film, and I was like, I don't think this movie was that good. Do
I
you remember?
remember I remember liking it. I don't remember loving it, but I remember
Yeah,
liking it. It was a very different movie, but yeah, like
yeah,
you said, I don't remember much about it.
yeah.
But
It has a big cast. I mean, if you go
I
back and look at who's in that movie, it's kind of like holy shit. Like,
I think
see here.
yeah, well, if you want to run down the names, I was looking too. I just thought the same thing, and I think it's before they all got really famous.
Man, like Jeremy Renner, Idris Elba.
Yeah, Rose Byrne,
Yeah, nope, that's
Harold Perrineau did a lot of TV before this movie, but
I can't think of what's his name. Shoot, I can't see an image of him, but he was also in Train Spotting. I can't think of the actor's name.
oh shoot, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, here, give me a second. There we go. Robert Carlyle.
Robert Carlyle.
Yeah, he was. Shit, who was he in? Train Spotting. I love that movie. Big B. He was Big B in Train Spotting. No,
Still need to see that.
I haven't seen that.
Uh-uh.
Ah, oh, so good. So good. A little disturbing, but has a great soundtrack.
Oh, I'm always down for a good soundtrack.
Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about box office quick. I mean, this
Let's
movie
do
did
it.
quite well. I mean, 87.7 million on a budget of 8 million. Um, Ebert gave it 3 stars. Go to Rotten Tomatoes. It's an 86% critic score, 85% audience score. So it's kind of like I feel like it's rare when you get that audience and critic score that align almost. So
Yeah, you're right.
then IMDb has a 7.6 rating. So I think it's
Wow.
about right. I mean, it's kind of all. It's probably like I would say it's a great movie,
I would
not a
too. It
masterpiece.
and those are high for a horror film. That's
Yeah.
pretty
Oh yeah.
well loved for a scary movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So check it out. All right. Is there anything? Oh, I wanted to talk about quick. Yeah. So just want to throw in there like director Danny Boyle. He's known for Train Spotting. I did Sunshine, Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, Steve Jobs. I don't know which Steve Jobs movie
Oh,
he
the
did.
good one, the great one.
The great
It's so good.
with okay.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
haven't
Aaron
seen that one.
Sorkin wrote it.
You wrote it? Okay.
Yes, with Fassbender.
Uh,
Yeah,
some
you.
uh, the British Film Institute ranked Train Spotting the 10th greatest British film of the 20th century, which is saying a lot. The writer Alex Garland, um, if you were familiar or unfamiliar with the game Enslaved Odyssey to the West, he also he co-wrote story for that game, and he also was a story supervisor on the DMC Devil May Cry game that came out in 2013. The screenplays of 28 Days Later, Sunshine, and the Dread movie.
Yeah, I love his mind, and I'm equal parts terrified.
Yeah.
And I really love Danny Boyle too, but I think it might be Alex Garland the reason why I'm drawn to this movie in the way that I
Yeah.
am. Because yeah, Ex Machina rocked my socks off, and
Oh,
so did
really? I still want to
Annihilation.
see that.
I
Oh, I
think,
still want to see both those films.
oh man, Annihilation's a trip.
All right.
It's good stuff. So is Ex Machina. I might give the edge to Annihilation, but they're completely different movies. Yeah, do yourself a favor, Chad. Ex Machina might still be on Netflix. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's on something I have.
Yeah,
I think I just added it to my list.
yeah. And Annihilation was on Hulu for a long time. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah, it's still on there. I just added it to my queue.
Those movies will make you sad inside, but happy at the same time
Happy is
for
like
what
a
a cool story it is.
yeah. Awesome. I love that kind of shit.
hmm
Good. All right. Yeah, anything else you want to add? I'm kind of out of ideas.
Nope, that's it.
Nope,
More
that's
zombies.
it.
Wash your hands, people. Stay safe.
Wash your hands. Yeah, there's plenty of videos out there on how to wash your hands. So,
Right.
just want to thank you for listening to this episode of Movie Time Machine. We have new episodes that drop every Friday on your favorite podcasting platforms. If you want to add or contribute to the show, or if you have any questions for us, drop us a message. You can find us on Twitter, Movie Time Machine. It's at Movie Machine Pod. Let us know what you think. We'll read your questions on the show. All right. And thank you, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.